Hello, today we have the lovely Matt with us. Hi, Matt. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hi Donna. My name's Matt Rayner. I write under the pen name of M.L. Rayner. I write horror fiction stories. I have currently published 2 books so far, one of which was Echoes of Home, which released at the beginning of this year, and my second book, Amongst the Mists, that came out in mid-October. So that's my new release. Married, father of 2, no more pets now, unfortunately. Just lost one recently this week. And that's about it from me.
Did you always know that you wanted to be a writer?
No, I always liked the idea of doing it. However, I was never really in that position to think that I would do it or would be good enough to do it. It was an interest that kind of stemmed back from when I was at high school. I had a substitute teacher that basically he self-published a book of short stories, which were ghost stories in like the 1960s. And so he was self-published then, so he didn't, I think I remember him saying he sold around about 250 books, which for around that time self-published was probably really good. And what he used to do, he used to read to the class, usually like 1 story a week. And I always remember thinking it was so cool that he'd actually wrote something and got it published. And from there, I kind of, during that time, that's when because I didn't really used to read before, that's when I started getting into horror. So I used to go into like the school library and start picking up, like the Stephen King Misery, stuff like that. And that's what really got me into it. But I never tried to write anything down on paper until about around 2014, something like that. And that's literally when I started Echoes of Home. And it was very much, as I've told you before, Donna, it was very much a matter of I wrote like a paragraph here and there, and it wasn't until a couple of years later I started taking it a little bit more seriously, and that's when I completed the book, and I've enjoyed doing it ever since then.
You're very good at it. You are too.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yes, Echoes of Home will be in my top books of 2021, without question.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot.
Yeah, it's creepy. I'm very good. So you write horror, but you also have like a sort of ghost story element to your books. Is that something that interests you as well?
Yeah, in terms of the horror, I've never really been one particularly for blood and gore. It's always pretty much been the supernatural stuff. And I like the classic stuff as well. Not necessarily the really old stuff, but the time period stuff. So I really like the writing of stuff like Woman in Black and novels such as that. And I like a lot of the isolation novels that came out. So like stuff like what Michelle Paver did with like Dark Matter or Thin Air, which are a fairly recent book set like some 50 years ago. So yeah, that's the kind of element that I try and go for. I try and go for more the creepy supernatural isolation kind of books. The fear of being alone.
That's why, despite being a local Stoke boy, you don't really set your books in there. They're set elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the first one, it was in terms of Echoes of Home, that when I started writing that was very much around the point of write what you know. And one of the things was Stoke. So I started off setting it in Stoke because I thought if I'm going to go down into like detail regarding an area, what better place to write about? And in terms of the Scottish Highlands, where obviously the book kind of progresses to later on, I used to do a lot of like wild camping, hiking up there. And it was one of those places where I used to go up for say 5 days at a time and do wild camping, kayaking, stuff like that. And it's a very lonely experience because once you get up there and you get your backpack and and you set off into those woods, you literally see nobody for like 5 days at a time. And that's where the idea kind of came from. I wanted to set it somewhere that was secluded and vast, and somewhere that if you were in trouble, you'd be really stuck for help.
Yeah, and it's very effective again. It's yeah, and having been to bloody Scotland, I see now how crazy big Scotland is. Like I saw nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is. Yeah.
Do you have a favourite character that you've written so far?
Out of the whole 2 books, I like the cool character in Echoes of Home. I really do like that character. Well, that character is based on heritage of like family tree. I tried to base that character on that, so it's a rather personal character. And in Amongst the Mist, I'd probably have to go for the Gregory character. I won't go into too much detail in terms of why, because obviously people that haven't read the book would probably be shocked that I would choose that character to like. However, yeah, I think it's more the rugged character, the heavy drinking character, the character that has the most backstory. I tend to usually go for.
Yeah, he's cool. I like him. And what was the most fun scene you wrote out of your 2 books? And what was the most difficult? Obviously, without spoilers.
To be honest, both of those questions probably roll into one, and that would have to be my first book. And obviously, because you've read it, you'll know what I'm talking about. But a big portion of that book, although it's rather small, only stretching to around 250 pages, a big portion of it is set as a backstory around the time of the Scottish Highland famine, and that was so difficult to write, because for a new author as well, that's never done anything before, to try and express that level of emotion onto the page of the book, I really struggled with. But the end product was totally worth it, and I'm really proud of those. I think it's like 8 chapters within that book. So whenever I think of like my favorite part of that particular book, I'll always resort back to the backstory and the amount of research that went in to writing it.
What's the most interesting thing you found researching either of your books?
In terms of Amongst the Mist, there was research that went into that, but it was a lot more local. But I tried to push more towards the fictional side. With doing Echoes of Home, that was based on historical fact, and a lot of history and research went into that book. So in terms of the most interesting thing I found when I was writing Echoes of Home, a big influence of that was research of my own family tree. So while I was writing it, it was really meaningful to kind of, it hit home at the fact that my relatives went through that ordeal. And that's why I was so proud to put it down on paper.
Will you have any more books out by the time it comes around to Tales on Trent next year?
Yes. I've started my 3rd book. Again, it's sticking to the horror genre. But that's very, very recently only just started that. So realistically, that probably won't be out until after the event. However, I started writing a young adult horror book for the Question Mark horror series, which Jim Odie started putting together. So I believe my book is going to be number 3 in that series. And I believe it's looking around March time. I can't give you no definite date. It's not finished yet. However, it's pretty much 80% of the way there. But yeah, that should be done for the event in Stoke.
Will Tales on Trent be your first signing event?
No, I've done a couple now. They've all been reasonably small. but I have done a few, and it's been great as well, because I was really nervous about doing them, because obviously you're meeting new people and you're meeting readers, and they've all got plenty of questions for you. But it's just so surprising how nice everybody is, and the stuff I've done is been in my local area as well, which has always been a bonus. And luck would have it, the Stoke event next year in May is going to be based in Hanley. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that now, and I'm prepared for it.
Good to know. And are there any authors you're particularly looking forward to catching up with or meeting?
You probably know the answer to this already. Yeah, so obviously there's the question mark press lot. So you've got Jim. So Michelle is going. I believe that's it. I'm not sure if Jane Badrock's going. I'm not 100% sure on that. I might be wrong.
I don't know. She's sharing a table with Michelle.
But basically, it's the people that I've been talking to since I started writing, and it is that question mark press group, really. Although I met Jim for the first time just last month at a local signing, he came up to Stoke, and that was really nice to do, because obviously I talked to Jim quite a lot. So it was actually quite nice to meet him in person. But yeah, again, the same for all the others as well.
And do you know many of the other authors that are going, or are you interested in what they write? There's some other horror authors, I think, and
out of question mark press,
out of all of the attending.
Yeah, to be honest, just very much like some of the authors that are attending have probably never heard of me. I'm looking forward to obviously meeting everybody and seeing what everybody writes. I think it's going to be a fun and friendly event, to be fair. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. Can't wait. Coming around really quick, actually, and people are already talking about the next one, which, you know,
the next one.
Yeah, we haven't even done this one yet. Give us a chance.
I was just going to say, no, it has come around quick, considering what it was like planned. I may be wrong here, but it wasn't it like 16 months in advance or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and obviously that list is growing as well each week. So yeah, I think it's going to be a good event.
Me too. Let's hope so. And I can't think of any more questions for you at the minute. And I will hand over to you to see what you get up to in the page, and look forward to meeting you next year.
Thank you very much, Donna.
Thank you.
Thank you.